Patrick Mendes accuses Thais Ramone of an affair as their custody battle explodes. 90-day fiancé Patrick Mendes and Thais Ramone's marriage has officially entered messy divorce territory. And the latest allegations are taking this situation to an entirely different level. Patrick is now accusing his estranged wife of having an alleged affair before their separation, and claims that after he discovered it, Thais wanted him out of their home because she had allegedly already told another romantic partner that she and Patrick were separated. But that is only the beginning. Patrick's newest court filing also revisits the explosive confrontation that resulted in Thais' arrest, claims that the two reached a custody agreement that Thais allegedly later abandoned, and accuses her of making communication about their daughter increasingly difficult. And yet, somehow, after all of this, Patrick is now asking for joint custody. So what exactly happened between these two? And how did a 90-day fiancé relationship that once looked like it had survived everything end up in a courtroom fighting over marriage, trust, and parenting? Let's get into it. Patrick and Thais have been through plenty of relationship drama in the 90-day fiancé universe. But this time, the drama isn't just happening in front of cameras. It's happening through court documents. Patrick filed for divorce earlier this year, and his initial request reportedly included sole legal and primary physical custody of the couple's 3-year-old daughter, Aleesi. Now, according to a new motion filed by Patrick's attorneys, he is providing the court with his version of what happened before the marriage broke down. And one of his biggest allegations involves an alleged extramarital affair. Patrick claims he learned in April that Thais had allegedly been involved with someone else. According to his filing, after he discovered the alleged relationship, Thais demanded that Patrick move out of their shared home. Patrick claims the reason was that Thais had allegedly already told her new romantic partner that she and Patrick were separated and were no longer living together. Think about how explosive that allegation is. If Patrick's version is accurate, then we're not talking about a breakup that suddenly happened overnight. He's suggesting that the relationship had already reached a serious breaking point behind closed doors. Patrick reportedly says he did not immediately want to leave the home, but he claims that after Thais allegedly made threats, he eventually moved out in early May. And then came May 22nd. According to Patrick's motion, he and Thais got into an argument that day, and he alleges that the confrontation became violent. Patrick claims Thais grabbed a knife and threatened him while she was holding their child. He says he contacted law enforcement and Thais was arrested for domestic battery. Now, there is a very important distinction here. These are allegations contained in Patrick's court filing. They have not been established as facts simply because they appear in a legal document. And Thais' domestic battery charge was ultimately dismissed. So this is not a situation where viewers should automatically assume every allegation is proven. But the fact that the incident is now being discussed in the custody proceedings makes the situation even more serious. Patrick also claims that the couple had reached an agreement regarding Aleesi's parenting schedule. But he alleges that Thais later reneged on that agreement, leaving the two parents without what he describes as a stable schedule. He further claims that communication became unproductive after Thais retained legal counsel. And this is where the divorce turns into a much bigger parenting dispute. Because once children become involved, the question isn't simply who hurt whom. The question becomes, can these two people actually cooperate as parents? And honestly, this is the part of the story that makes the situation so complicated. Because Patrick's latest position seems almost completely different from where he started. Initially, he reportedly wanted sole legal and primary physical custody of Aleesi. Now he's asking the court for joint legal and joint physical custody. That is a major shift. Patrick is essentially telling the court that despite everything he alleges happened between him and Thais, he still believes their daughter should have both parents actively involved in her life. He even maintains that he and Thais can cooperate adequately, to meet Aleesi's needs. And from a parenting perspective, that's a much more measured position than simply trying to eliminate the other parent. But here's the problem. Joint custody sounds simple on paper. In real life, it requires communication. It requires consistency. It requires parents to exchange information. It requires them to follow schedules. And most importantly, it requires them to put the child's needs ahead of whatever resentment exists between them. If Patrick is saying that communication has already broken down, then how are they supposed to make joint custody work? That's the giant question hanging over this entire case. According to the filing, Patrick wants the current parenting schedule to continue. He reportedly has Aleesi from Wednesday through Sunday, while Thais has her from Sunday through Wednesday. So despite all the accusations, Patrick isn't asking the court to completely remove Thais from their daughter's life. Instead, he's asking for the court to formalize the arrangement and create a clear custody order. And that may actually be the smartest part of his request. Because when two parents can't agree on a schedule, leaving everything informal can create even more chaos. One parent says, "That's what we agreed to." The other says, "No, that's not what we agreed to." Then suddenly, you're dealing with missed exchanges, angry messages, attorneys, and eventually another trip to court. Patrick is also asking the court to warn Thais that once a custody order is established, withholding Aleesi could potentially be treated as parental abduction. That language is incredibly serious. But again, it's important to understand what we're actually looking at. Patrick is asking the court for this protection. That does not mean the court has already ruled that Thais has committed parental abduction. It means he wants a formal order that clearly establishes everyone's rights and responsibilities. And honestly, that's what this situation desperately seems to need. A clear schedule, clear rules, clear expectations. Because the worst possible outcome would be Aleesi becoming a messenger between two parents who cannot communicate. And this is where I think the audience needs to step back from the 90-day fiancé aspect for a second. It's easy to watch these people on television and treat every argument like entertainment, but divorce changes everything. When allegations of infidelity enter the picture, emotions get ugly. When lawyers get involved, communication gets more formal. And when a child is involved, every decision has consequences beyond the two adults. So, whether you believe Patrick's allegations, sympathize with Thais, or think both sides are contributing to the chaos, the biggest priority should be the child. Now, let's talk about that alleged affair. Because if Patrick's claim is accurate, the timing raises some serious questions. He says he learnt about the alleged affair in April. He then claims Thais wanted him out of the house because she had allegedly represented herself to another romantic partner as already separated from Patrick. Again, that's his account. We don't have a final court finding establishing that allegation as fact. But if that's what Patrick believes happened, you can understand why trust inside the marriage would have completely collapsed. And once trust disappears, even ordinary parenting disagreements can become explosive. Then add a contentious separation. Then add attorneys. Then add an arrest that was ultimately dismissed. Then add competing versions of what happened. And suddenly you have exactly the kind of situation where a judge may need to step in and establish boundaries. Patrick is also asking that Thais pay his attorney's fees if she opposes what he describes as his reasonable requests. So this divorce isn't just about who gets what, it's also becoming a battle over who pays for the legal fight. And here's another thing that stands out. Patrick is reportedly insisting that he would never withhold Aleesi from Thais and has not done so in the past. That statement seems designed to reassure the court that his goal isn't to punish Thais by taking their daughter away. His argument is basically, give us a fair custody order and we'll follow it. But whether these two can actually follow that order without continuing to clash is the million-dollar question. Because a judge can create a schedule. A judge can define custody. A judge can establish legal responsibilities. But a judge cannot magically make two people trust each other again. That part is up to Patrick and Thais. And considering everything being alleged in this case, rebuilding that trust is going to be a massive challenge. There's also something fascinating about how this story has evolved. Patrick and Thais recently appeared together on 90 Day, The Last Resort. Fans were watching them attempt to deal with relationship problems in front of cameras. Now, their real-life relationship is being fought over in court. That's a completely different environment. On reality television, couples can argue, walk away, talk to therapists, and eventually return for another scene. In court, statements can become part of the official record, and allegations can have consequences. That's why it's so important not to confuse reality TV editing with the actual legal situation. What viewers saw on television is one piece of the story. What Patrick is alleging in court is another. And Thais' response, if she disputes these allegations, will be another important piece. At the end of the day, there are still two sides to this story. Patrick has made serious allegations. The domestic battery charge was dismissed. And unless a court determines otherwise, the allegations about the affair and other disputed events should remain exactly that, allegations. But one thing is already clear. Their marriage is over, or at least Patrick has taken formal steps to end it, and now the focus is shifting toward what happens next. Who gets parenting time? How will decisions about Aleesi be made? Can Patrick and Thais communicate? And can they separate their feelings about each other from their responsibilities as parents? Those questions matter far more than who wins the social media argument. So now I want to hear from you. After everything Patrick is alleging, do you think joint custody is realistic? Do you think Patrick is genuinely trying to create a stable arrangement for Aleesi, or do you think there is more going on behind the scenes? And what do you make of the alleged affair? Remember, Patrick's accusations are allegations from his court filing, and the domestic battery charge against Thais was ultimately dismissed. So don't treat unproven claims as established facts. But there is no denying that this divorce has become incredibly complicated. A marriage that was already struggling, an alleged affair, a bitter separation, a confrontation that resulted in an arrest, a disputed custody agreement, and now lawyers fighting over how these two parents should raise their daughter.